Hello everyone and welcome back. It's been a long time. We've had a summer and we haven't done any recording for quite a long time now. It feels like a long time anyway. So we're finally out and about again. Tanya's, as usual, is behind the camera, and it's been a really interesting experience with the camera. We've pretty much forgotten how to use it. So we've been running through what's going on. That's the problem with having time off. When you get back to it, it makes things so much more difficult. But we're on a journey again, and we're in the borders, just south of Edinburgh, a place that we've never been before, but it's beautiful, as you can see. I think it's on the A708, just going southwest from Selkirk, if you're interested in finding out where we are. And it's beautiful, it really is a pretty place. And we're driving around really just to find a place to paint, which is quite tricky. One of the interesting parts of driving around and seeing these places is that you see a scene and it's amazing. I love the scene and I'm driving along, but there's nowhere to stop. It's always one of the tricky things about trying to find a composition. And in many ways, it's one of the most frustrating parts about trying to find compositions, which is being able to park, being able to find the spots. So we're going to do something a little bit different this time, and over the next few months, is that we're going to be doing much more walking. We've got a lot of camera gear to carry, but I think walking is where you see the compositions and where you really get out into the landscapes and, you know, possibly go up a mountain or two. In Scotland, we have lots of mountains, so it won't be too much trouble finding it, but it's a beautiful place, and I think we can find something around here to paint. Since I saw you last, I've been thinking quite a lot about watercolour painting. I haven't been doing much of it, but I've certainly been thinking about it a great deal. And what I've decided to do is a slight change up from what we have been doing is to do quite a number of smaller paintings as well. I think the smaller intimate paintings are really worthwhile and good to get into. And it's also the way that many people paint as well. I do paint big pictures, sort of that sort of size, but that's a sort of rarity painting outdoors really, and I think most people when they go outdoor painting they paint in a smaller way. They've got a small bag with them and they want to just go out and do some paintings. So that's what we're going to focus on as well. So it would be more in connection to you and what you're interested in doing as well. I love the smaller painting as well. They can be very intimate and really exciting to paint, and they're quite quick things to paint. So that's going to be one of the big changes for the future, as well as I say, the lots of walking and getting out. But winter's coming, which is going to make things difficult. It always seems to be winter when I'm coming into Scotland and doing lots of painting. I don't know why that is, but we always seem to be heading into the worst time of year in Scotland where it starts to rain a lot. So hopefully we'll be blessed with good weather this winter.
Hello everyone, and I'm pleased to be back as well. We've had a great summer, but we haven't missed our adventures in the van. It's really funny though, when he picked up the camera this afternoon, I thought, oh my goodness, can I remember how to use it? But I think I've got there. So we'll head back to the van now and drive further down the road and hopefully find a spot where James can do a sketch. I think there's another loch further on from here where there should be some parking, and we might even stay the night there.
Forgotten something, got to go back to the van. So we're going to do a really quick painting now. It's quite late in the evening and there's a beautiful scene over there. I've got a tiny bit of paper there, as you can see. I think it's about 10 by 7 inches. And it's to be quick. And as I mentioned earlier, the small painting is a lot of fun and very much something that people can undertake quite easily. The big pictures are quite, well, sometimes a little bit traumatic and a little bit off-putting at times. But you can see behind you've got this hill in light, and I think that's beautiful. What I'm trying to do is to do a slightly different style this time, a much more airy style for watercolour. It's very difficult to describe pictures, but it's going to be much more impressionistic and simplified. But I'm hoping, always got to put your fingers crossed on this one, that it's going to turn out nicely. You never quite know when you're experimenting, but it's something that you've got to do. You've got to experiment with watercolour. So this is the scene I'm going to do. It's quite a difficult one to get the right position for because there's trees in the way, but it's really the hills in the distance that I'm interested in. The way the light's coming across it, almost in a raking light, I find really interesting. And you see the shadows that it's created are wonderful, and also the clouds are great as well, but whether the clouds are going to be there by the time I paint it is another matter. So I'll set up here quickly and get straight on with it. Okay, just going to get the sketch done quickly. Everything's a bit rushed with this picture. It's the first picture in a while, and certainly videoed, and it happens to be a very sort of pressured one as well because of the time problems. So I'm just trying to create a picture which is impressionistic, very, very impressionistic. I love that sort of work. I love it. I love it to feel relaxed and not have the sense of work in a picture. When I look at my paintings and I look that they look laboured, that's when I like them the least. I like it to look fresh and simple and all that good stuff. So I'm going to try and put some clouds in, but they're vanishing on me quickly at the moment. So I'm looking around and I'm trying to take them from over there, so quite a way away, and see whether I can make them look like they're on the hills over there. I've got my big hat on today as well because there are lots of bugs around, and I find that this keeps the bugs off me a bit more, so that's always good. Right, okay, so that's the drawing done. So there's the drawing done, and it was really super quick. The time is really limited, so really trying to get on with this one. My palette's out. It's clean, well, cleanish. I did clean it for the first time in years. So now it's just a question of getting on with it. The clouds that were there a moment ago have now completely gone, which is a shame, really. I really like those clouds. So we're just going to have to make it up a bit, and maybe look around to get sort of inspiration from clouds that are around. Okay, so cobalt blue, beautiful colour. A bit of ultramarine blue as well, just to blue it down a bit more, make it slightly cooler blue. Right, and we're going to head off really, really quickly to it. Again, this style of painting that I'm doing at the moment it's a change for me. At least I'm imagining it differently. I'm imagining it much more free-flowing paint, which is what I enjoy the most, really. I love paint when it looks fresh and easy and sort of happy, really. So I'm going to try and put some nice cloud effects in it. So some yellow. Let's get rid of it. If you don't clean the brush properly, you go into a yellow, the yellow turns green because blue and yellow make green. So a bit of raw sienna, and I'm going to try and get the right shade. Try and get some nice yellows in here. There are shades of, because it's in the evening time. The light is warming up a bit, so it's quite nice to get some of these colours in. So do you like that? Letting the colours run a bit as well on the paper, that's always enjoyable. So I've got to leave some highlights, but I'll be using white at the end as well. Isn't that nice? That's really pretty. Now right at the bottom, sorry, it all seems a bit rushed, I know, but the time is really coming back to us. And this is one of the beauties of small watercolours. I love small watercolours. You can paint one quickly when time is short. So I've gone into Viridian now. That's a nice sort of colour for the base of the clouds. So a little bit more bluey Viridian now. I find that really pretty. If you remember the last times, I do use the word pretty a lot, and it's something I find really important. If you can't see beauty, then or when something's pretty, then I think it's really difficult to paint, because you need to be able to appreciate beauty when you see it. Really important thing. Right, now we're heading down into the hills. So I'm just trying to get the colours moving around and really enjoying those colours that I see. It's really beautiful. See that? So that's the. There's something exhilarating about painting out of doors, and I think what it is that it makes you focus. and as a landscape painter, or anything really, you have to really focus. If you can't focus, it just makes life quite tricky. So there's the water going in underneath. There we go. So that's the first sort of painting of it. Very roughly done, very aggressive. So I'm going to try and let that dry for a little bit now. Hopefully it's going to be able to dry because it's quite cold, and yeah, we'll see. Okay, so now we're going for, we've just had a quick battery change on the camera, and we're heading off into the lower parts of the painting, where it sort of hits the water. It's a bit too wet still. Doesn't matter. That's got a nice effect, and again, recognizing nice effects, because it feels now that the green trees are now reflecting in the water. Right, so I'm going to carry on really quickly now and start entering the other part. That's very wet still, so that makes it tricky. So maybe I have to wait a moment more. Try and make it dry a bit off. Okay, we're going to steer into the clouds. See what's around. Right, huge clouds coming to the right. Let's try and give it a bit of feeling that there's a shape to it. And yellow is quite a nice colour really to have in clouds. I think it gives a nice contrast to the rest of the picture. I don't necessarily see that much yellow, but I quite like it. Sometimes there is an interpretation that you need. That's nice. Okay, so hopefully that's dry. So what I'm going to do now, add some more blue, ultramarine blue I think, maybe a bit of brown. It's interesting getting back into photography, trying to remember how it's all done. It's quite funny. So back to my square-ended one, my 13mm professional watercolour brush, mop. Really nice brush, very impressed. It wasn't expensive either, which is part of what makes it so great. Plus it's really good. Love this brush. Right, get these shapes over here. Good. Yeah, this is one of the problems of painting when the temperature is quite cool, because it doesn't really necessarily dry as well as you'd like it to. Okay. So now I'm going to get some nice blue, some quite intense blue, so ultramarine. That's it. And I'm going to use this for the shadow areas, so I can really get it in there. Isn't that beautiful? As long as it doesn't move around too much. If I get it a bit flatter. And then in here there's a really big blue section. Ideally I'd like it to dry a little bit more, but it's not ideal world at the moment. I love this ultramarine blue, it's such a beautiful colour. It's nice. If I can get it to dry faster, I'd really appreciate that. Cool. Right, so I'm going to go into the clouds again a bit more, and I'm going to give them a little bit more drama. I love a cloud with some drama to it. It's something I really appreciate. This. I love dramatic skies, so I'm using a bit of ultramarine blue and burnt umber just to get in there a bit. See how that's, give it a bit more of a dramatic sort of feel to it. Again, a quick painting this is going to be. but effective. That's what I'm looking for, a quick, effective painting. And the two don't necessarily go together particularly well. Sometimes you can have a quick painting, but it's not so good. And a bit of darkening on this one too. That's nice. That's a really pretty mark. Darkening the top off. I'm not painting what I see at the moment. I'm sort of looking at the painting and saying to myself, well, how can I make it better? And if you watch the previous videos, I do talk about that. And a lot of what painting is a sort of an invention. You're an inventor really, and you're trying to find out how to improve things. I love that part of it. See that? Maybe a bit softer. I'm trying to get a bit of blue in there. I'm just looking at the painting to see how I can make it better. I thought maybe a little bit of blue would be quite nice there. Sort of makes this cloud sort of come out at you. That's pretty. Love that. So much of painting is your aesthetic appreciation, which is something that's really important to work at. So it's a very different style from when I finished off in the last, I don't know, call it a series of videos. I haven't done any videos for a while, but I'm sort of developing different styles as well, which is what makes watercolour painting so fun really, that you can do all sorts of things. You don't have to stick to the same style all the time. It's good to blow the painting from time to time, just to try and encourage the water to evaporate a bit. Okay, and hopefully that's dried off. Not quite enough. So we just wait for a bit. Right, okay, so it's not drying particularly well, so I'm just going to have to live with that and carry on. We're going to enhance the blue colour a bit more to get the different, just to try and get a darker colour in here. So I'm trying to depict the hills as a sort of line coming in here, and really bring that in. And then there's a little river that comes down there, which is nice. It's a little bit wet, but I can't do much about that. And there's a beautiful shadow of this hill here on this mountain, so I want to get that in. Yeah, this shadow here is what attracted me to the whole painting, the way that it came out. So this is the hill that's in front of this hill. I thought that was really nice. And you've got these little ravines as well in there, which are fun. And then one of the lovely things here is as well is that there's this wonderful other hill coming in just to the left here. So I'm going to depict that in with a bit of green, just to tone it, because it is quite green. You can't really see it from your position, unfortunately. But again, quite intense colours and a bit of brown. So this is this hill coming in here. It's a bit wet again. So that's that hill there. I really am concerned with beauty in a picture, and I look at pictures and I try to look for what worked and what didn't work. See, right now it's coming on quite nicely. Now over the other side, I'm going to create here. I'm going to create a little reflection of the sky. I just think it needs something in this corner here. I think a lot of what is great watercolour are accidents that you're able to recognise and hopefully enhance on. So I'm just trying to give it the sense of water there. Hopefully you've got that. So we're almost done, but I do need it to dry a little bit more. I like to add a few flakes of white paint. We're coming up to the last moments of the painting really, and it's been quite a tricky one because of the drying time. So I'm going to have to figure out a way of drying the paintings in Scotland in the winter. So just the last few marks really. The light's completely gone, so the camera's set to high ISOs. So I want to create the sense that there's a line here, so that there's a sort of mark. You see how that's not dry enough. Maybe a drier paint. I want to create this sort of line of the edge of the water. That's quite nice. Maybe kind of going here. Yeah, that worked out. And maybe a few marks in the water, a few pretty marks in the water. Maybe just to give it something else. And this was the accident earlier. Because it was too wet, it flowed in. But how lucky is that worked out like that? And now just one or two white marks, I think. So maybe highlighting a few marks in the reflections of the sky and the water. And we're almost done. It just feels nice to me to do that. It's not there in the reality. So one or two more marks on the sky, just to give that nice feeling of roundedness. And that's it, all finished. So there's the painting, and I thought it worked remarkably well for the time I had and the size of the picture as well. That did help the finishing of it. But I hope you can tell whether you know my style or not, but it feels slightly different from last time. And I'm pretty pleased with that one. It's my first plein air painting for a couple of months. And I really enjoyed the blue in it. I thought the blue in the mountains really liked that part of it. So the size of the painting is 10 by 7 inches, so not a big painting. And it's painted on Fabriano Artistico paper. And that's the natural white, £140. So here's the painting all done, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm really pleased with it. It was the first painting for a while, so the videography, we haven't done that for a while either, so that was all a bit of a exciting moment doing that, trying to remember how it's done, and we're going to change it around a bit next time, maybe get the tripod out again. So again, I'm really pleased with that, and you can see the scene has now completely changed. It's completely gone, and all that's left is this little memory of it. I love the size of these pictures as well. The intimate nature of these pictures are so lovely. So I intend to be doing lots of them. Sometimes 6 by 4 inches, 8 by 6 inches, 8 by 12 inches. Those sort of sizes I think are really quite nice. They're just a lovely memory, and I would encourage you to have a go at that size as well. I think it's really great to have a go at that size, because the piece of paper isn't quite as intimidating, and watercolour really is quite intimidating at times, and I think that if the paper's a bit smaller, we feel a little bit more confident, and building that confidence is a really important part of watercolour. This is going to be our first video in a while, so we'll try and get that. We'll try and get it done hopefully next week. Although you'll be seeing this next week. So hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you next time and regularly in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.